When the NBA shortened the line to 22 feet in 1995, Mike made 38% on over 750 attempts before struggling again when the line returned to 24 feet. Otherwise,
dreams come true. I can grow without.
I don't think the criminals who killed James Jordan knew who they were robbing. You have to remember that in 1966, the internet was in its infancy. So while Michael Jordan was recognizable all over the world, you would have had to be a real avid basketball fan to know who his father was and be able to recognize him in real life. My guess is that the killers just saw somebody driving a fancy car and decided to rob him. Obviously an evil thing to do, but I don't think they even knew who he was. Jordan's father was his best friend. Baseball was his first sport, played at a high level, and his father wanted him to pursue it professionally. James even watched Michael retire from basketball after he won his first title. James even wanted Michael to retire from basketball after he won his first title in 1991 in order to pursue baseball when James was killed in 1993. MJ went through an existential crisis, and this is why he decided to pursue baseball in order to honor his father's wishes for his career. First and foremost, my condolences go out to Michael Jordan's father and his whole family, because what a shame for some people to be outside, see someone driving a car, or even having some nice pair of shoes, or whatever the case may be, and wanting to take their life over it. What a shame. And that leads to my next statement. The reason why I wasn't so hip to Michael Jordan was because I stopped really caring about him growing up, because I heard he was invested into prisons. But when you don't have the context clues and the information in the backstory, then you make an immature decision. Because deep down inside, we all know that there's always going to be people out here who want to take the easy route or take a shortcut to the top. And sometimes that looks like stuff like this, or taken from someone else who actually worked for something, or whatever the case may be. And then they lose their life. So I had a biased opinion, and that opinion actually changed my perception of Michael Jordan for many, many years in my life. But shout out to Michael Jordan. My condolences go out to Michael Jordan. This is a sad story to ever hear. I wouldn't wish this on anybody, and it all makes sense now why he was crying on that night when he won the championship. I guess was that against the Supersonics? Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Michael Jordan again, and that was just crazy. I just had to read that with y'all because I just don't know how many people know this. Obviously, a lot of the Gen Xers know this, but shout out to you, Gen Xers, for letting me know all this information and putting me on. That way I can know what basketball is really about, right? But anyways, I did find a Michael Jordan stats video, like you guys asked. I don't know if it was the one y'all told me to check out. So if you guys have any actual stat videos that you guys want me to check out in particular, make sure y'all drop the link in the comments. I'll check it out. And I do plan on getting to the Jordan and Pimpin' Defender video. That look like that's gonna be heat. That's gonna be heat, and that's gonna be some conversation, because Scottie and Jordan ain't even friends no more, and they got a lot of controversy wrapped around that. But anyways, y'all know I don't like long intros, even though this intro was a lot longer than other ones. But I just had to shout out Michael Jordan's father and Michael Jordan, because I had that biased opinion, and it's changed now. I completely understand why he invested into prisons. I completely understand. Some idiots out here ended up ruining his life, basically. Not ruining his life, but taking someone out of his life, and that's not fair. It's not fair at all. But anyways, y'all, let's get into this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm DtaeNoDinero. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the notification bell on. I do want to give y'all a heads up now. I'm about to be incorporating some new videos into the channel, so make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Be sure to hit that like button. Keep an open mind, y'all, because I'm pretty sure y'all gonna enjoy this new content I'm coming with. And actually, check this out. GenX, I told y'all we was coming back with some different content, all right? Today I'm in the gym with my boy Dre.
Really?
Hey, when was you born, brother?
2001.
Hold on, you say what?
01.
01, so what's that mean? You Generation Z?
None of that shit.
He know he's Gen Z. He know he's Gen Z for real. Nah, it's this ongoing debate. Who the greatest basketball player of all time? LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, who?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan? That's what's up. That's what's up. I thought you was gonna say LeBron James, to be honest with you.
Nah.
Nah.
Hell, I mean, he great, bro, but he ain't better than MJ, for sure.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. A lot of them people in the GenX, they gonna with that answer.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, YouTube. But look though, so I got my boy Dre here, and we got a chance for him to win up to $100 right now, right? Hey, y'all, let's see what we got going, man. Let's see. That's green. That's 25, guaranteed. Now, you ain't gotta shoot this. You can walk out of here with the 25. Oh, say less. Make sure you, all right, we changing up the rules for you and you only, all right? You get 3 chances, all right? This chance 1.
Hey, like I said, y'all, new content coming soon. Hit that like button, Silver. Let's get it.
You know Michael Jordan. You know his legendary moments. You know that fadeaway. You know his aerial gifts. But do you know what made him unique as a scorer? The ins and outs of his passing game, his defensive strengths and weaknesses. Jordan's mystique grew in the 90s, but did he actually reach his peak before he ever hoisted a championship trophy? And were those the best seasons that we've ever seen on a basketball court?
You are watching what greatness is all about.
Where's Larry Bird in all this?
Has it blocked by Elijah Wan. Michael Jordan saves the day.
This series tackles one question. Who was the best at his best? We start at the ABA merger and go through the best multi-year stretches, examining the legends who provided the most on-court impact. These are the greatest peaks.
Who was the best at his best? I like the way he worded that. Think in mind for this channel.
He's one of the best competitors. He's one of the most skilled players. And that, to me, makes him the best basketball player that I've ever seen play.
In this series, we've seen how big men ruled the game for decades, and how the offensive brilliance of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird reimagined what taller players could do. But there were high-flying wings with offensive success in the 60s and 70s too. Elgin Baylor was the first superstar who really attacked vertically off the bounce. Then Julius Erving and David Thompson extended that approach. As a kid growing up in North Carolina, Jordan idolized Thompson, who combined an explosive first step with a little skywalking to finish third in MVP voting in 1978. Jordan was the next leap in that evolutionary chain, and his incredible first step set a new standard for attacking the rim. When he entered the league, Michael could just teleport around defenders with his burst, able to get around players in just a single step. And even though he was a hair slower by 1989, this incredible acceleration was always the foundation of Jordan's success. He'd burn defenders to the right or to the left with this penetration, and he was so quick that blinking was dangerous. Joe Dumars flinches at a turnaround here and then becomes a turnstile. There wasn't anything special about this being a first step. It was just mind-bending acceleration. Jordan's like a Formula One car racing against Priuses. That acceleration shot him out of a cannon, and that speed was a launch pad for his vertical finishing. He's flying by the second step here, and that helps him actually fly. Really, the man spent so much time in the air he could have registered a tail number with the FAA. Some of these drives remind me of a running back turning the corner, where he'd take off and get really low, then transfer all that energy into his leaping. Note how his body protects the ball here as he hovers to the other side of the rim. And he leveraged his body as an airborne shield like this, especially when jumping off of 2 feet into contact. Michael was strong enough to absorb hits while airborne like this, and these physical gifts helped him reach the line at historically prolific rates. Magic kept defenses off balance with his playmaking, but Michael simply overwhelmed them with relentless pressure on the rim. His huge hands helped make some of this aerial wizardry possible, manipulating the ball in the air on these drives or holding it away from shot blockers. That's near the top of the square on the release, and these things were so big that the ball could slip off mid-shot, and he could still reset it in his catcher's mitts like nothing happened. Of course, the hang time also makes this work too, contorting and bending his body around bigger defenders in the paint. Jordan displayed the most fluid body control of perhaps any player ever, slithering around opponents as he floated into a clear shot attempt. And we haven't even mentioned his footwork, which was balletic at times, allowing him to keep his balance while pivoting around like a top, and then that hanging aerial control to still square his shoulders on the shot. His legs were kicked out on the foul here, and it didn't matter. All that hovering and twisting helped Michael's mid-range game too. His typical pull-ups were supercharged with that elevation, hitting a trampoline and then firing over defenders. And whether he was twisting, leaning, or stopping on a dime, he could square his shoulders and still shoot. And this kinesthetic mastery made his famous dagger against Cleveland in 1989 possible, where he pumps and hangs, but right there squares himself comfortably and strokes it. Incredible. We shouldn't overlook his shooting from the mid-range either. He was an 85% free throw shooter during these years and was a knockdown shooter inside 20 feet when given space. But he also created space vertically with that leaping ability, changing directions and springing clear for a good look. Michael didn't make thousands of jumpers with a hand in his face. He made thousands by jumping so high, his releases were rarely ever bothered. As you've probably noticed, his handle was good enough to support sharp cuts, and he really liked this low in and out dribble to set up defenders and probe for open space. He wasn't an incredible ball handler, but he was good enough to knife around the court, and since he could also score at the basket with either hand, Jordan's robust repertoire made him the greatest scorer in NBA history. If we look at 3-year playoff stretches and adjust for inflation to 2020 scoring rates, Jordan scored an astounding 34 points every 75 possessions, on true shooting 7% better than average from 1989 to 1991. He holds the top 9 stretches in postseason scoring rate, peaking in the late 80s and early 90s when his explosiveness was still intact and his mid-range accuracy was dialed in. He could always fall back on his most iconic move, the fadeaway. You see what I did there? Sometimes MJ would get right into this off the catch, and that hang time and separation created really clean releases. He preferred going to his right hand on this move until about 1990 or 1991, when that vintage fade to the other side started popping up more regularly. I recommend J. Kyle Mann's History of the Fadeaway for more on this shot. Since the triangle offense organically generated post-ups, Phil Jackson's arrival in 1991 facilitated more fadeaways for Jordan. Here's a great countercut, audibling off this route with the defender overplaying him and flashing right back to the low block for the catch and turn. Michael's agility helped him off ball too, using screens and setting up opponents for sharp changes in direction that freed him up. So much of Chicago's offense before Phil Jackson was bringing Jordan off picks from the baseline, and since he was comfortable flowing into attacks like this since his college days, the activity and principles of the triangle helped harness his off-ball movement. The triangle offense prioritizes balancing the floor and ball movement, principles that played right into Jordan's strengths as a catch-and-go scorer. While Michael could read screens and then flash to open areas well, he could also punish ball denial with that quick change of direction, and with increased space, he was so hard to contain. These back cuts were organic, feeling an overplay, then darting free to the bucket. And his movement meant defenses always had to worry about him. He cuts right out of traps like this instead of idling, and even when a teammate misses him, those cuts could lead to rebounds. All his activity and his athleticism made him an excellent offensive rebounder, which is often overlooked because he was usually doing the shooting, but this added additional off-ball value to his game. On the other hand, his weakness as an off-ball player was his three-point shooting, where he peaked at 34% on low volume. It didn't seem to matter if these were pull-ups or catch-and-shoot chances, but I do think Jordan's release at the apex of his huge jump limited his range to a degree.
Okay, limited his range to a degree. All right, so y'all told me to watch the statistics video, okay? All right, GenX, y'all told me to watch this video, all right? I don't want to hear no excuses. I don't want to hear no excuses. This man is sitting here telling us, we watching it together, that Michael Jordan had an 85% free throw shooting percentage. That's not 90%. That's why he's not in the 50-40-90 club. But yet alone, hold on now. He also just said that Michael Jordan also shot 35% from the three-point line. Oh my God. Everything is literally just playing out the way that I said it. Just watching Michael Jordan and knowing how basketball players function, I have the same kind of play style as Michael Jordan. I already know his shooting percentage ain't going to be as high as what some of these other players are, who don't take as many dribbles or aren't as fast off their feet or explosive to the rim to finish the way that we like to finish and play the game. That's our style. Now, mid-range jumpers are something that we can do on a consistent basis because we can't always get to the rim to finish. There's Pat Ewing down there. Michael Jordan's situation, he's just dunking on everybody. So that's why I said Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, because he was like top tier finisher, top tier, creme de la creme of whatever finishing, like the man unstoppable. But shooting, y'all overhyping it. The video ain't over yet. Maybe I'm getting excited here. I'm getting excited. That's what it is. I'm getting excited. My bad. Let me calm down. Let's finish the video, y'all. Calm down. If you got here this far, you've been here this long, make sure you hit the like button to the butt. Let's get it.
When the NBA shortened the line to 22 feet in 1995, Mike made 38% on over 750 attempts before struggling again when the line returned to 24 feet. Otherwise, Jordan was such a dynamic scorer that he flummoxed almost any defense of the time. The Bad Boys Pistons dented him slightly, but that's about it. And yet, despite his otherworldly scoring gifts, he wouldn't have 6 championships without a huge part of his game that is often overlooked.
Rumors. Michael Jordan is retired.
Faked his own retirement. I don't know. I know he loves basketball. He's probably playing in his backyard with his kids, but I don't think he faked his retirement.
When Michael was younger, he was often criticized for shooting into double teams frequently. And while his athleticism was breathtaking, his shot selection was questionable at times. Some of these were really difficult attempts. He was so skilled that it's hard to say he took poor shots per se, but MJ was frequently doubled or tripled and bypassed wide open teammates for some of these attempts. Given his high volume shooting, there are few players in NBA history who shot into extra coverage while a teammate was open more than Michael Jordan. Now, without strong three-point
Hold on, y'all. Let's just say it again.
Who shot into extra coverage while a teammate was open more than Michael Jordan. Now,
let's listen to that one more time.
Rumors.
I actually just reminded about 40 seconds because I want to make sure y'all hear it again too.
Faked his own retirement. I don't know. I know he loves basketball. He's probably playing in his backyard with his kids, but I don't think he faked his retirement.
Shout out to David
Michael
Robinson.
Was younger, he was often criticized for shooting into double teams frequently. And while his athleticism was breathtaking, his shot selection was questionable at times. Some of these were really difficult attempts. He was so skilled that it's hard to say he took poor shots per se, but MJ was frequently doubled or tripled and bypassed wide open teammates for some of these attempts. Given his high volume shooting, there are few players in NBA history who shot into extra coverage while a teammate was open more than Michael Jordan. Now, without strong three-point shooting teammates back then,
I'm out of here, y'all.
1 hour later. 2 hours later. 3 hours later.
Y'all, come on, man. Why y'all playing with me like this, yo? Why y'all playing with me like this, yo? I hope my mic ain't been loud this whole time. All right, but look. Everything that I said, this guy's saying. I'm not taking nothing away from anything that I said about Michael Jordan. All right? Over these last few weeks, maybe a month, two months, who knows? I'm not taking nothing away. I have enjoyed this rabbit hole, and it's not over yet, okay? So Let's not get this twisted. But this guy is an analyst, and he goes through and breaks down not only Michael Jordan videos, LeBron James videos, he breaks down every basketball player videos, okay? So this is what he does. He goes and he adds it up, and he does he counts all the dots on the I's and counts all the lines crossing those T's, okay? All right, now, this is what he do. I'm just letting it be known he's saying this, okay? I said it without watching any of these videos. I said this stuff without watching any of these videos. I said, it's questionable. I gotta see them. I gotta see statistics. I gotta see what was he doing out there in 4K, because I know basketball. I know what it looks like when everybody on the team just keeps swinging the ball to the same person. Man, I know what it looked like for that person to get his teammates. For players to get their teammates engaged. Okay, I talk about this all the time. This is quite. We got some more time on this video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say the rest of my commentary for the end. All right, now this time I'm really gonna just woosah.
Teammates back then, missing these spot-up shooters probably didn't hurt that much. And more importantly, these missed passes were easily outweighed by all of the open shots Michael did set up. His constant penetration collapsed defenses into the lane, and when he did opt to pass, Chicago ended up with wide open looks. That last play was a jump pass, and Jordan often went airborne for a shot before checking down to an open shooter like this. That Luigi hang time helped him to react to defensive decisions before finally passing the mic to a bandmate. These jump passes set up more than just outside shots. Jordan preferred to hit teammates in the lane, and his go-to playmaking move was drawing a defender away from the rim as he hovered, then throwing one right to that vacated spot. Mike loved this jump and dump laydown, where he drove to the basket and then, with the big man stepped up to help, found a way to drop it off for a layup. These were some of his best passes, and he really dialed them in during the 1991 playoffs when he anticipated these little openings more and used his parasailing ability to exploit them more consistently. However, leaving his feet like this caused some issues when he decided not to shoot, holding a hot potato while hovering with no clear outlet. When he was in the air like this, he was at the mercy of whatever was open. He switches to a pass here, but there's nothing really there. And another problem with passing like this is avoiding all the contesting arms and hands, so many of these balls were deflected, and as a result, his reactionary jump passes led to a number of his turnovers. Jordan rarely anticipated openings as a passer. This is a simple lead pass to the streaking Horace Grant, but he had to throw it early and he sees it late, and then he thinks better of it. Here, he doesn't realize this teammate is uncovered, and so it's a dubious jumper instead of a layup pass. On this one, Scottie Pippen's backdoor cut opens a lob, but Jordan sees it after it's free, then fires it, and man, could Pippen pass. Most of Michael's best dimes were more reactive, seeing an opening and then whipping it to a teammate. Despite his reputation, he was always a willing passer, and learning more angles and reads over the years helped him drop higher level dimes like this. He threw in a bit of manipulation beyond that jump pass, going to the look away at times, and this is his peak passing in 1991, moving the defender with his eyes, then impersonating Magic in front of Irvin himself. Jordan was also willing to look ahead for outlet passes. This is one of his better ones, and he was a good transition passer, dropping a brilliant dime on the break every once in a while too. To be fair, he missed plenty of good passes in these spots as well. Pippen's clear here, and flying into the lane, that familiar drop-off is open. In studying passers over the years, the great ones will find about 90% of these open looks, whereas Michael connected on them about 66% of the time. But keep in mind the sheer volume of open chances he carved out by drawing attention away from his teammates with his perpetual scoring pressure. In the playoffs, There are
Benefit
no
of the
more
doubt,
than
basically.
5 players in NBA history who created more shots for teammates than Jordan, and if we use the same playmaking estimates from the prior episode, Michael set up his teammates for an open look an estimated 14 times every 100 possessions, a stretch only bested by the game's top offensive engines from the last 15 years. And so, while Jordan was revered for winning 10 scoring titles, he was one of the all-time playmaking machines in league history. That raised a weak roster and carried a strong one later on. From 1985 to 1989, before Scottie Pippen emerged and the triangle took hold, the Bulls' offensive efficiency was only around league average. There was only so much Michael could do as the lone offensive force on a defensively constructed roster. Pippen's emergence gave the Bulls another elite finisher and secondary scoring weapon, but more importantly, another playmaker. Scottie's passing is historically under-discussed, and he was a deadly grab-and-go player, either finding layups in transition or doing the damage himself as he came down the lane. Pip was also one of the all-time great wing defenders, and that, along with his unselfishness, made him a near-perfect complementary piece next to Michael. Jordan himself improved as a passer at the end of the 80s and into the 90s, and with better teammates, the Bulls roared to some of the best offensive seasons on record, right behind Magic's Lakers. And when we think of Magic as having everything run through him on offense, Michael's combination of scoring and playmaking gave him one of the highest offensive loads in playoff history. While Jordan's passing highs were mixed with some blemishes, his defense was even more boom or bust. The highlight reels where he's flying all around the court overlook all of his strikeouts and instead focus on his impressive home runs. For instance, jumping passing lanes like this might produce his most valuable defensive plays. These interceptions could be huge, pick sixes that went the other way for easy points, and at times Jordan was like a cornerback sitting on a passing route with elite closing speed. In 1989, Dtae aficionado and coach Doug Collins busted out a half-court trap at times, allowing MJ to size up cross-court passes and then turn them into easy offense. But these gambles whiffed as well. Michael would sell out for them frequently, and in this case he can cover this kick-out pass here, but is going for more with this steal, and that can lead to wide-open looks. By my eye, Jordan hit pay dirt more often than not, but there was a tax to pay for these steal attempts. He could get in passing lanes without gambling, reacting quickly in short space with the defensive equivalent of his first step. This is a bread and butter cross screen of the era, and Jordan not only switches it, but pounces like a black cat. And he could shoot the gap with that burst. This pass is airborne for less than half a second, and, well, Michael's airborne for more than half a second. Michael's quickness helped him keep smaller, shifty point guards in front of him, and on the outside he could churn his feet while swiveling his hips to the dribbler in textbook fashion. For instance, he often guarded Isaiah Thomas during the bad boy battles, and MJ's acceleration allowed him to recover laterally at times, and his combination of size, strength, and agility held Isaiah below his normal scoring numbers in those matchups. But that Kenny Rogers gambling was part of his man defense too. Michael would backpedal to recover a lot, and his preferred move there was to swipe down for the steal as he slid in front of a dribbler. There was a lot of swiping actually, spamming the Y button at times, and plenty of them connected, but they also gave opponents openings that would have been way harder to find if Jordan had just played it straight up. When he wasn't swiping at the rock, he was reaching, first on Joe Dumars here, then another reach around for the steal. He lunged for steals a lot on the block like this, and here that lets the smaller Brian Shaw turn clear for an easy look. MJ did flick plenty of balls this way, leading to deflections or turnovers, man, but he was usually overly aggressive with this move, lurching at air not once on this play, but twice, leading to a layup. He brought those same habits to the post, the swipe down move or a little flick, and while he stripped opponents some time, I think he was better off playing straight up against post players and using his athleticism and strength to contest. Against our old friend Magic in the 1991 finals, Jordan gambled, and then gambled, and then gambled, and was absolutely torched by the bigger Johnson in the post. On occasion, Chicago sent a second defender, and you know what happened. Another defensive gambit Jordan loved was the surprise double team, where he ambushed unsuspecting players and let those giant hands pickpocket people. As Karl Malone knows all too well, these well-timed sniper shots worked against the deliberate post-ups of the 80s and 90s. Of course, there was a small price to pay when he couldn't cash in on these because it left his mark wide open without structured rotations, and even after this play turns into a more standard trap, it's Jordan's man who was wide open the whole time on the other side of the court. Michael just had an unquenchable thirst to make plays on defense back then. He's guarding a shooter here, but drifts into the paint looking for action, and that was Randy Whitman's fourth straight jumper. Jordan lurked like this because he did make a ton of plays from the paint. One of his favorites was swooping in at the exact moment post players were shooting, and MJ was one of the best shot blocking guards of all time, able to leverage that athleticism to hang and reach shots, and this gave him a level of rim protection that most guards couldn't match. These saves at the hoop were high-value plays, and that defies physics.
You would be floating above the ground, never touching the surface.
Even with a little less verticality, by 1990 or 91, he could still fly in and save the day. This play from 1989 demonstrates the big payoff of Jordan lurking near the lane. He's able to stop a dunk, and this quick reaction and elevation would be elite even for a big man. Those aerial superpowers even allowed him to protect the rim from behind. He served as a backstop here by flying in from the free throw line on this incredible rotation. I don't know about you, but I find Jordan's high-risk defensive style to be difficult to evaluate. If we look at our historical impact metrics, he's right at the top of the heap, with a nice lead in my box plus minus model, but it's difficult for stats like these to handle defense well. And what we really care about is overall impact. So the team here at Thinking Basketball combed through nearly 200 old Jordan games to calculate his plus minus and give us a better picture of his impact. In the playoffs from 1989 to 1991, Jordan's Bulls were outscored by 12 points every 48 minutes when he sat on the bench, but they outscored opponents by 8 points when he played. There's some noise in stats like these, but Chicago's 20-point increase with Jordan in the game would rank 9th since the league began tracking this in 1997, which puts him up with the all-time results, but certainly doesn't separate him from the pack. As we've seen, he was quick to rotate most of the time. Here the play unfolds rapidly and Michael jumps on the threat, but I wouldn't say he had great help awareness. He's late recognizing this despite a teammate pointing it out, and he could become momentarily preoccupied with action in front of him, forgetting to rotate for a second. He was a strong enough defensive rebounder as a guard that it probably added some value to his defensive game. And given all of his defensive strengths and weaknesses, I view him overall as a strong all-league defender, but not quite an all-time defensive wing. There are still larger questions to think about here. How would he fit next to a post player who wanted the ball more? Are there diminishing returns next to a ball-dominant star? And what's his legacy look like if Scottie Pippen never emerged? What's undeniable is that Jordan was the first perimeter player to dominate with mega scoring and playmaking, which puts him in the conversation for greatest offensive player ever, and given his defensive impact, it's easy to see why Michael Jordan is often considered the greatest basketball player of all time. For more historical content and to support this channel, head over to patreon.com/thinkingbasketball and check out Thinking Basketball, the book, on Amazon. That goes deeper on a number of ideas explored.
All right, y'all. Look, that's the whole video, okay? Now, I've already kind of gave y'all kind of a briefing of what's coming, okay? Pause. But I have to admit it. Jordan is not the greatest shooter of all time the way y'all make it seem like it in the comments, GenX. I'm sorry. But it is what it is. Accept it. I gave y'all the greatest of all time, though. I mean, it don't get no better than that. It gets no better than being the greatest of all time, right? Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. That's what y'all wanted. He just ain't the greatest shooter of all time. 30. This guy, I guess, he didn't do it over the whole 13 years, but I think he did it. I think he reasonably did it when Michael Jordan was at his peak. 3 years, 6 years, whatever that was. And it doesn't change anything, y'all. I know you grew up in that time frame where you didn't really care for what everybody else was doing. You only wanted to see him with the ball. He's your favorite player. And that's what's going on right now with Gen Z, Gen X. I'm talking straight to y'all and the boomers. I need somebody said something funny to me in the comments, but I'm not going to fragment. The Gen Zers right now didn't get to watch Michael Jordan play. So they're sitting here saying LeBron James is the greatest of all time. Now, I know y'all don't like when y'all hear that, but that's what's going on. They've seen him play, so they're not about to sit up here and big up your guy. They didn't see him play the same way y'all don't big up maybe some other people. But overall, in general, though, y'all did see this man just turn the ball over and make bad decisions when he was gambling. And you have to be honest here. Those things are going to happen in basketball. You're going to get crossed. You're going to get dunked. You got dunked on. Yeah, those things are just gonna happen. You're gonna gamble and take a chance, and you're gonna miss. Now, the craziest part that stands out the most to me, and it was the sole reason why I said I gotta see more. Not just the highlights of the clips and Michael Jordan doing this with his tongue out, or this. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about him actually in the game with the options. I can set the play up to get my teammate, set the post, hit the so they got a smaller defender screen. Boom, got the big man now. The small defender on the big man. I'm about to swing it to him, and he gonna cook. Obviously, Michael Jordan had good fundamentals. He did that. He's a great IQ having player. Okay. But we just seen it. The proof is in the pudding, y'all. We just seen it. There were many times Michael Jordan overlooked open teammates selfishly to take the last shot. And it kind of reminds me of this guy named Kobe Bryant. And this is why I said I had to see more, because, I've always said Kobe was the greatest of all time, because he was just like the modern day version of Michael Jordan. And I grew up watching Kobe. Then I started watching some Larry Bird and some other players, and then, things happen. But anyways, I've always leaned on Kobe Bryant. But I always had to admit, watching Kobe Bryant actually play the game of basketball, he took excessive amounts of shots and would not pass the ball, was a ball hog. He shoot over 5 people. I swear we could find a clip somewhere. Matter of fact, I'm about to find one. Here it is right here.
Everybody on the defensive side knows which way he's going. He doesn't embarrass you as much.
Kobe, he had 5 kings around.
All I gotta say is Michael Jordan, he did that stuff too, y'all. And that's the reason why I said I had to see this up close and personal. Y'all just kept trying to tell me that he was the greatest mid-range shooter of all time, and I kept telling y'all he wasn't. And now it's me and him versus y'all in the comments. Sorry, y'all gonna cook me and like to let me have it in the comments. Go ahead, have your best one. Just hit the like button, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, and I do plan on dropping another video real soon. I'm thinking defender video the defense video with Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. I think that's gonna be a great video to I can already imagine the conversations. But sit it up, we out. Peace. Let's get it.